Hi, I'm Bill Arnold. Thank you for listening to this podcast of Real Recovery. There are many more podcasts available at myfaithradio.com. Your support makes this possible. Thank you. Okay, it's time. Welcome to Real Recovery with Bill and George. Ryan's on the board. George, we have a great story tonight. As always, looking forward to it.
And we know a little bit about it because we know the guy.
We have a little history with him, so it's going to be good.
Extra special for me always when that happens because we get to see. Sorry about that. It's always special to me because it takes us back when he's going to start talking about his story to when we met him and what happened. And there's always a beginning, and a lot of times, Bill, it seems like the end. But if you turn your life over to Jesus, it's not. But I think we have to get to the end of ourselves a lot of time, especially in recovery, before we go, hey, okay, I tried to do it my way. It didn't work. And yeah, I was willing, but to a certain point. I think when we look at that, about willingness, that's a God gift. All of a sudden, you're willing to do stuff you weren't before. And when we lose that, we start negotiating. And what I mean by that is, well, I don't need to do that. You know what, God, I'll take it from here. And that doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. George, I know that we like to talk about a step, but I'd like to go before the 12 steps and go back to some of the original teachings of the Oxford group, which was right around World War I, wasn't it? Was it in the 20s? Okay, I'm asking questions you don't know, so I'm not trying to.
I would say that might be right.
Yeah, okay, but they had some assumptions that they had their teachings based on, and they were very much interested in people coming to know Jesus as Savior.
Correct.
That was the theme of the original group, the Oxford group.
Totally.
Yeah. Now they had a couple of assumptions. I think that it's worth discussing, because it led into AA. Do I have that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And one of their assumptions is human beings are sinners. And I go, okay, there we go. That's right from Scripture.
Totally.
Yeah. So we've all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God.
Somewhat of a paraphrase would be step one. We admitted we were powerless, that our lives were unmanageable. Powerless over alcohol. I think the limitation is where I think you're going. I don't want to step on it, so go ahead.
That's okay. And then the second assumption is that human beings can be changed. And I think there's a lot of people in recovery that don't think change is possible.
Oh, I think all of us when we get into it.
Yeah.
I think the problem is we don't give the person who did it the credit. I did this. I did that.
Sure. And another assumption from the Oxford group's teachings is confession is a prerequisite to change. In just step one, once again, admit you are powerless. That's a confession.
Totally.
Yeah.
The problem is we can say it and not accept it. And we look at acceptance is by our actions. Did they have like 8 principles?
6.
6.
Yeah,
okay.
We're going to go through all 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me put my thinking cap on and let's dig in.
You're doing good, George.
Thank you.
The next one is the changed soul has direct access to God.
Love it.
Yeah, I do too. So when you have given your life to Christ, you have this access to God that you didn't have before.
I know we're on the air, but...
Well, then stop it with the long pausing.
If you don't have it before, then how do you become a Christian?
Well, yeah. I mean, God hears the prayers of sinners. God hears the cry of salvation. And then you have access to Him like you've never had before.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. And the age of miracles has returned. Of course, this was written in the 1920s, and I don't know what they were thinking about miracles before then, but when I see someone whose life is completely transformed, that's a miracle to me.
Totally.
Yeah. And I think even tonight's story, there's a part of the story I think that will involve addiction to meth, which I think is one of the most powerful addictions out there.
You bet.
In and out of federal prisons. So you've got some experience. And to get out from under all of that and to have a transformed life is a miracle.
Well, I think anything that's a miracle is something only God can do. That's not humanly possible. I know that eliminates the 1980 Miracle on Ice Olympic hockey victory over the dreaded Soviet Union.
Yeah.
But I don't think people can get sober on their own.
Mm-hmm.
God does it. It's whether or not you give him credit, because what happens is you become willing to do it now all of a sudden. And you take credit for that when really the Holy Spirit convicted you and at the same time offered you hope.
Mm-hmm. I like that. And the last one is, and I love this one, George, those who have been changed are to change others. Now, you can't change someone. God can change them. But you always say that if you get saved and sober, God's got a job for you to do.
Yeah. And you know, the old saying that you might be the only Bible people ever meet, or the only Christian, or the only recovery person, the only big book recovery person they meet is you, and you're a representative. And I think that's true, but I also think it's the best part of our walk and our recovery.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about what they incorporated into AA from the philosophy of the Oxford group. These 5 procedures: giving into God.
Yep.
Listening to God's directions.
Got it?
Checking guidance. I don't know if I know what that means, but I think I do.
I think what it means is you check your guidance, Bill.
All right. Well said, George. Restitution.
Yep. Steps 8 and 9. Make direct amends wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And sharing both confession and witness.
So we would go to step 5, admitting to God, ourselves, and other human being the exact nature of our wrongs. And then step 12, we carry this message to others, practice these principles in all our affairs. And what I liked better was the whole thing was about Jesus. And of course, we talked on this show that the early 12-step groups got on their knees, had a Bible. They didn't have a big blue recovery book. And I think the lady, Henrietta Sieberling, who was involved in the early helping Bible studies. In fact, an Oxford group Bible study is where Dr. Bob Smith, she got the phone call from Bill Wilson when he was in Akron, Ohio, that he needed to work with another drunk, and wound up with Bob Smith because Bob Smith was in her Bible study for the Oxford group, and she answered the phone, Bill, and he said, "I'm Bill Wilson from New York. I'm a drunk. I need to work with somebody." And she said, "Bill, I get goosebumps on this.
This is an amazing story.
I've been expecting your call."
Whoa.
So when we look back on this, God is all over this.
Mm-hmm.
But she also wrote Bill Wilson a letter when they were writing the big book, and I'm summarizing it, I don't have this in front of me, that if we had God as you understand him, you're going to change this into the Rotary Club. And I think for me, one of my calls of my life, I guess the big one, is to get sober, help other alcoholics achieve sobriety through Jesus Christ. One of the problems with 12 groups where you can choose your own God is usually it's a creation of yourself, which really is why you're there in the first place. And what I mean is you've been playing God your whole life. And Bill, you know this. You go down to the Salvation Army every week. People will say, "Well, my God wouldn't do that." Well, your God, you created him. Our God created us. And we don't give him the credit. And I think too many times people get sober, which God did for them, gave them the desire and the ability to carry out the work necessary, and they don't give him any credit.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well done, George. We're going to take a little break, and then when we come back, we're going to introduce Stephen to the show, and he's going to tell his story. We certainly have a big week ahead coming up with our fall fundraiser, so thank you for the way in which you care about Faith Radio. And I know that you tune into Faith Radio and you hear stories of transformation, a little bit like the one you're going to hear, and it's the power of God in the work, doing the work in the lives of people who fall on their knees and say, "Father, help me." Lots more of that ahead. We'll take a short break and be right back. Welcome back to the show. We've got a great story tonight. Stephen's here with us in the studio. George, as we always look forward to every week on Real Recovery, hearing stories of transformation.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We kind of had a front row seat to this one, so it's extra special for us.
I agree. Stephen, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Yeah, so we're so interested in hearing about young Stephen. What was life like for you growing up? What family like what was like? School life, church life? What was it like?
Grew up with my mom and my stepfather. Had a weekend father who did the best he could. He was a fisherman, and I kind of say I had best of both worlds. I kind of had a street mentality at my mom's, native background, and then with my dad's side, it was kind of a more blue collared. So I got to go to the cabin, got to go mini biking, boating, fishing. So all that kind of great stuff. Dad was an alcoholic, so some of them things kind of got, distorted. Had his brother, my Uncle Doug, who, without being the weekend son, my Uncle Doug would come around and bring me, go-karting. He built me my first mini bike at 5 years old. Was really my male figure that I looked up to very much so, and that relationship fell apart horribly when I was about 13. Up at the cabin, just fell apart. Called me a lot of names, and he was probably going through his own thing. And so we didn't talk for like 10, 15 years. And, that really crushed me. And, he kind of went through the whole, you'll never be anybody. Just really, really heartbreaking stuff that, a 13-year-old boy who looked up to this man as, my everything. But so, and then my mom's side, it was, there was love, there was, no physical or mental abuse but there was using and there was, things like that. And so there wasn't a whole lot of accountability. With that and my uncle and my dad, growing up, being 13, 14 years old, no accountability at mom's side. So I'm starting to run the streets and start to dabble with, marijuana and, and school kind of fell apart and went through some juvenile centers. So yeah, that was basically up to 16, 17.
Yeah. I'm curious, Stephen, when you're 13 and you want to start smoking weed, is it because it was something you thought was cool or something that you thought this will change the way I feel and I want to change the way I feel? Or both?
Maybe both.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah, I think both.
Did you have a lot of friends before that?
I had a lot of family, a lot of cousins that were like brothers. Michael, Gene, and Woody that were just, really close. So we hung out a lot and we just, friends at school. And like I said, school wasn't, my strong part. And
Or sports?
Played 8th grade football was the only sport I ever played organized sports.
So, following Bill's question, did you find some new friends when you started smoking pot?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That gives you an opportunity to finally start to have some social life and connection, which every kid craves.
Absolutely.
Everyone is craving connection.
Yep, for sure.
It does a lot. And for a while it seems, gosh, this is great. And so how did you get into juvenile centers?
Fighting at school, truancy, minor theft things. Like I said, not a whole lot of accountability and not a lot of, repercussions for my actions so much that.
Were you a pretty angry guy?
I think so, from my uncle. From my, and I think back on it. Being at 13, my uncle, that really threw me in a tailspin. When I think back on it now, because that's really when things kind of really fell apart.
Sure.
When I look back and start looking at the stages of where I was at,
Because was he kind of a dad substitute for you?
Oh, absolutely. He wasn't an alcoholic. He was, I mean, a fisherman. Like I said, he built me my mini bike at 5 years old. He, just took me everywhere. And
So you're on your way. You're smoking pot.
You're coming into adolescence.
yeah,
This is a critical time in life, and the person that you thought was a place of security is telling you you're not going to amount to anything.
yeah,
Ouch.
yeah.
I tell that to George often, but
Well, it was a good call on your part for
on
me.
my part, it was a good
No,
call.
it was early and a
Yeah.
good call.
Yeah.
So you got to go somewhere to get affirmation. And Bill, what's a better place to do it than with guys that are using?
You're going to
and
find
you
community
roll right in,
right away.
and getting highs funded for a while. And it's exciting to steal stuff, right?
It was. It was.
How was it getting caught for you?
So when I was younger, so we get the phone taken away from them. Can't use the phone at home. I mean, there wasn't really no punishments for it, right? I mean, and then, starting, at 16 is when I first went away for 90 days to St. Croix Boys Camp.
Did you think that was kind of cool, though? Was that part of your identity, too? You're a rebel?
Absolutely. I think so. Yep. Yep, for sure.
So did you ever get to the point where you figured, what are they going to do to me? This is nothing.
Yes. I mean, when did I get the point? Say that again?
Okay, so what are they going to do to me if I get caught? It's not that big a deal.
Right. Because, I mean, I wasn't in trouble at home, right? I mean, it was just kind of the way it went. There wasn't really, so it didn't, there wasn't a whole lot of, like I said, there wasn't a lot of
Consequences.
consequences.
Yeah. So you were a little immune to the idea that consequences are coming your way. So you do what you want.
Consequences.
Yeah. No, even the little detention center you're at, I don't know what kind of boundaries you had there, but was it like a little boot camp or?
It was, and I think back again, and it was one of the best times of my life. I mean, because it gave me structure. It gave me, I did well in classes there. I mean, it got all the grades that I needed while I'm there. Gave me the leadership, the adult leaderships there. We got to go on a 10-day canoeing trip in Canada.
Wow.
And, being a kid that was up north, I mean, I'm used to the water, right? And the leaders let me be the guide who guided our whole swampers was what our group was called. So let me do the whole guiding of the whole Canada trip. So that was really neat. And it was one of the best times of my life, really, honestly.
Sounds like you're setting a new course for yourself. I like the direction this is going.
Yeah, and you go on camping trips, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're putting you in a leadership role. You're doing a great job. You're getting the grades. Sounds like you're on the right path.
It was, right?
What
And,
possibly could go wrong?
they released me.
Oh, that part.
That was a bad move, right?
That was probably
they
bad.
never
So-
should have let you go.
Did you have any idea of God at all at this time?
None.
Ooh.
Okay. So you get released.
Get released, get back to mom's. It's like July 6th. Whiz Bang Days is going on in Robbinsdale. But then we go down there and it's a big carnival thing, and then all my buddies are waiting for me to get out, and all the ones that I were getting high with, the kid down the block, and it was right back to it. It was right back to what are we going to do next? Where can we pick up? We picked up right where I left off.
So you had no pause moment in your brain. Ooh, should I be going back and doing this? There's no pause.
No
There's
pause.
like, we're just all in.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
It's new life, Bill. It's what I do. I get caught, I get in trouble, I go back. We got camping trips. I mean,
Yeah. in Canada, no less.
Yeah.
well, he's the leader.
Right.
But I mean, it sounds like this might seem weird and maybe it's wrong, but you kind of had like a family when you're in there, don't you?
Sure. Yes. With healthy boundaries, with healthy,
Yeah.
Yep.
I would want more of that. He's shaking his head, yes. We are on radio.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So you like that part. How long were you out, and did you get grades? Did you take any of the skills you acquired in the juvie center outside of there?
Not so much. So I get out, and mom's like, you're not going to sit around here. You're going to go get your GED. You're going to go back to school. You're going to get a job, or you're going to get out. So I went and got my GED so I could continue to be at home. And at 17, I met the mother of my kid, Diane, who we were together probably like 14 years. A really terrific woman who, gave me some accountability. I wanted to be accountable to her. I didn't want to really be, the mess that I was. And then it wasn't hard drugs or nothing quite yet. And so we grew a relationship for, a number of years.
Were you working?
I did concrete for about 10 years, and so maybe not that many. I was a movie, but yes, I would work at times. And, then there were some tragedies in my life. Some few of my friends were killed and murdered, and I got real bad anxiety for a couple of years where I didn't leave the house for a long time. So, we were living in my mom and stepdad's basement. Diane worked every day, which, supported our entertainment, I suppose, because we didn't pay rent.
Mm-hmm. All right. This is an interesting start. I know God's going to be taking us in a new direction, but boy, this, George, as always, these stories start with a lot of bumps along the way, don't they?
Well, if you look back at them, you can see a lot of reasons why it might turn out this way. And we all need security, affirmation, and a group.
Yeah, true.
And if you don't get it at home, you're going to go get it somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. You're listening to Real Recovery with Bill and George. We're going to take a short break and be right back with Stephen. Welcome back to Real Recovery. Bill and George are so glad that you're here listening to Stephen's story with us. And Stephen, all right, things got off to a rocky start, and then I would assume things got even worse. So let's get to that part of the story so we can start looking at the incredible moment when God started helping you get out of all of it. Okay,
so working with concrete, a gentleman, started making the meth. So I fall in love with that stuff immediately, and it's great at first. We work harder. We're doing this. I'm doing, and then, I respected Diane enough to where I didn't want to drag her down into this deep pit I know I was going down, right? And so we separate, and I go my own way, and then the crime start. Then I need to feel these drugs, and I'm done working. I start in the writing bad checks, stealing IDs, and I go to prison. Me and Diane remained friends throughout our first breakup, and then we became friends again, and my daughter Alicia was conceived, and I just wasn't ready to be a father, didn't know how to be a father, and wanted to continue to go to be a meth user. In short. So going down that hole, it was in and out of prison for the next 20 years. About 20 years. Bouts of sobriety, came into Salvation Army, ARC in 2012. Had some seeds planted. Got out. Immediately was back at it again. And
why did you do that?
Why did I do what?
Go back to using. You've gone all the way through a really tough program. Had you had a relationship with God in there?
Seeds are planted. Dave Johnson, we did the salvation prayer. We had great conversations, but the enemy was still working, and I just wasn't done yet. I honestly just wasn't done, and I just, I didn't work the program the way that program is set up at that time.
Well, you probably didn't think you needed to. Why would you? Is the reason that we go back to using the same reason that we stay sober because we want to more than anything else?
I could say yes to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the seeds were planted.
Seeds were planted.
So what happened after you were out for a while?
So had to go to prison in 2014. I did a early release program then, CIP for 6 months. I come out. I get...
What's CIP?
It's the Challenge Incarceration Program for...
Boot camp?
Yep, boot camp. Yep, the DLC.
Did they have any canoe trips?
No, not there. Nope. No
okay, so how
there.
long did you do that program?
So that was a 6 months.
A lot of push-ups and stuff?
A lot of push-ups, yep. A lot of push-ups, a lot of marching, a lot of, no talking, a lot of discipline. So I get out of there, and, I'm selling magazines at this place, and I had free time, so I went over to Golfsmith and was able, asked them if they were hiring, and was blessed enough, and I don't know how I got in that place, honestly. I mean, I'm check forgery, identity theft, credit card fraud, and it's a retail place, right? And so my boss allowed me to come there and started re-gripping, and had a couple of guys there that were helping me re-grip and build clubs, and and I love golf, and I picked everything up there immediately and stayed there for the summer. My boss loved me, Scott loved me so much that he just kept me out through the winter, learned how to fit people, and really became really good at my job, I'll say.
Nice.
I did. And Golfsmith files bankruptcy. Golf Galaxy and Second Swing and PJ Superstore, they come over and they want to make sure these guys have jobs. We all have jobs. And I went over to Golf Galaxy, and everything's perfect, right? So I can go drink. I can have a drink. I can have, I'll behave this time because nothing could go wrong now. Have a
like
dream
a
job.
Good plan, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, right? And so it wasn't long before everything was so great that I can go back to my love of meth, right? And it didn't take long for that to fall apart. It was a job, start with the crimes again, to feel this, my gambling and drug addiction and
Wow.
So the thinking is, okay, meth's my problem.
mess.
So I'll just drink.
I'll just drink.
And then when we get a few drinks in us, we go, what would make it even better?
Yep.
So when you think about that, you're sober at first, and it makes sense. But then when you start drinking, you're not sober anymore.
Not sober.
And then everything comes back, and you're gambling again. And did you keep your job?
For a short bit, or not long. Didn't take long for that to fall apart. And, and I'm better than, I know what I'm better than these kids, right? And the younger kids were running Golf Galaxy. It was owned by Dick's, and it was just more of it wasn't a really family-oriented place as such like Golfsmith was. I mean, Golfsmith, the guy, I became real close with them guys. Again,
Yeah. So when did you hit a bottom place where you finally said, everything I've been doing on my own, trying to make it work for me, isn't working, and if God doesn't help intervene and lead me on the path, I'm not going to get out of this?
Probably August of 21, when we're supposed to go to Valley Fair, me, Diane, and Alicia, and her friend, and I get arrested that day, right? And so I'm in jail for a couple of weeks, and I'm sitting in that cell. I'm just like, I need to do something, right? And so I'm just, my wheels are turning to get back to the Salvation Army ARC. I know this, I'm ready for it this time. I'm truly ready for it. And it took time. They were under construction, and it took time for me to get in, and I wasn't able to go in until December 3rd of 21. I go in December 3rd of 21, and December 4th or 5th, and that's when I just cried out to the Lord. Can we break this bondage? Can we break this?
The sin.
The sin.
Yeah, the slavery to sin. That's what salvation brings, is that breaking that bondage to sin. So you no longer have to sin, you choose to.
Correct. And a lot of times, I think almost all the time, we don't really get that until we try getting sober and it doesn't work. we talk about step one. We admitted we were powerless over drugs, alcohol, our life's unmanageable. And we read that and go, yeah, that's true. But what you really get it, I think, most of us, is when you try to do it and you can't, then you realize that you are powerless, right?
Yes. Yep. And
But God drew you back.
yeah.
And you're here now and you're crying out.
Mm-hmm. Crying out what?
Bobblehead night here on Real Recovery. That's a good hook.
Yeah, that's a great. Yeah, I guess we're going to take a break and come back here to the rest of Stephen's story. We're speaking in cryptic language here in the studio today, George. You and me.
None of us know it.
We have no clue, but we'll be right back. You're listening to Real Recovery with Bill and George. We'll be back in just a minute. Welcome back to Real Recovery. George, I'm going to read something out of Proverbs chapter 3 to set up the next section of Stephen's story. It says, starting in verse 21, "My son, do not let wisdom and understanding out of your sight. Preserve sound judgment and discretion. They will be life for you, an ornament to grace around your neck. Then you will go on your way in safety, and your foot will not stumble."
Like that.
I like that too. God offers some amazing promises, and they're there for us to understand, to put in our hearts, and to trust Him for the results. All right, Stephen, we're real excited to hear about the good part of the story.
Amen. So get to Salvation Army on December 3rd. And December 4th or 5th, and like I said, I just cried out to the Lord, could you break this bondage? Can you break these addictions? Can you break this, And we put a counselor or therapist in my life where I may be able to learn to be a better father and learn really to get to the depths of this problem that I have, right? And I asked the Lord, if it's just the Bible, it's just the Bible. But they put my therapist, Joe, in my life, and that man, he won't take no credit. He says he was there for the walk, but this guy really got me through a lot of things while I was at the center. And my faith grew. I'm doing stuff outside the center, doing street ministry, street team, and I'm just working a great program, sponsor, everything else. And a lot of the guys that come to the center have court cases that are pending, and as I did. And so I graduate in August. I get a job at this company, and then Tom Canfield asked me if I would be a living maintenance guy, and I said absolutely.
He's the director of the Salvation Army.
Yep, correct. Yep, Tom. Yep.
We just need to associate names and places.
Yes, sir. So yes. And then I have court September 22nd, and and I wasn't honest with Diane, who's the kid, my mother's kid, and I went to court, and they took me. They sentenced me to 52 months, and I'm just taken away. And and I decided when I got to prison that I wasn't going to let these previous 10 months go to waste, and I'm going to remain faithful. I'm going to continue to stay in the Word and not be angry. And so I sign up for the CIP program again. You can do it again. And so I signed up for that. I'm in it for a week. They pull me out. This was in 23. They pull me out. So it takes me another year to get signed back into this program. And I get signed back up in July or June. And then I come to find out, my release date is December 3rd, which is the same day I walked into Salvation Army 3 years previous. And I really believe that was God's plan, right? Because I was, upset that I wasn't going to possibly get out a year earlier. But I'm in contact with Tom and Trudy, the administrators, and a couple other guys out at the center. And Tom and Trudy offered me a living position to come back to the Salvation Army again, which is, people just are not going to get that opportunity to come back and be a maintenance guy. And I'll be the first one to admit I'm not the most qualified guy there, right, to be in maintenance. But they gave me the opportunity. They believe they seen the hard work and the true change that, took place that previous 10 months to where they were willing to give me that opportunity to come back there, which is a true godsend. And it was really it was really great. Till
God shows up.
he does show up.
You got to ask and walk according to the way. You know, we go to Romans 8:28, Bill, that all things work together for good for those that are walking with God according to his purpose. And it might not happen right away. You have to do the work, but it's not worthless. And God answers our cries for help. And part of that for you was he gave you the strength to accept going back to prison. And you didn't give up. And, you know, like your uncle had told you that you wouldn't amount to anything, you didn't listen to that. You listened to God's promises for you, and you kept going. And then you get out, you have a place to go, you have a job, we got a room for you in a Christian rehabilitation center. Come on.
Yeah.
God's at work.
Do they have canoe trips there, too?
They do. We went canoeing this past summer up
Okay.
at Northwoods. Oh, are you reading the prison or the Salvation Army?
Salvation Army.
Yes, they have canoe trips. Northwoods camp. And
So you're covered, and you're helping guys every day.
every day. And I want to back up. You know, and when I got there December and all throughout while I was in the program, you know, I just cried out and prayed, you know, continue to God to continue to soften Alicia and Diane's heart, right? And I just want, you know, to have that relationship mended. I go to prison. Alicia starts, you know, going to church with her friend, and they weren't so much churchgoers, you know, before I went in. And I get out, and I didn't talk to them guys the whole time I'm in prison. I get out, and I find out Alicia's out doing street teams. She's out doing street ministry with her church in Denver. Find out she's going to El Salvador, you know, to go do a missions trip. She's a youth leader. She's, you know, really an angel. You know, we don't talk yet, but then, you know, God will restore that relationship when it's time. And I tell the guys at the center, you know, so I'm a maintenance guy, so now I'm a resident manager at the Salvation Army, you know, and I, you know.
What does that entail?
So at night, you know, we do room checks. We, you know, we keep the guys, you know, make sure they're in class, and we, you know, we're able to, you know, have conversations with them and, you know, really be hopefully an influence and use to them, right? To share our story, to, you know, and remind them that 6 months is a long time, but we're not going to get everything back immediately. You know, we just got to trust the process, and that, you know, being an addict, you know, for me, I wanted everything right now, no matter what it took, you know, but if we trust the process and know when it's God's will that we will, you know, things will be restored back to us, that's when it, you know, we don't give up on them and don't get back to what we want.
It's really interesting, Bill, to hear this always for me. A guy comes into a place, excuse me, to get sober, find a relationship with God, get saved. And we always say on this program that God doesn't help us get out of our sins without having a job for us to do. So you have a guy now that's a Houseman resident manager, and he's got to check to see if they're going to classes, but he does a lot of one-on-one counseling. Mm-hmm. And what he can say is, hey, I went through here.
Yeah.
I did it. And I'm not asking you to do anything I didn't do. And the guys hear that because they can't rule him out because he did it.
Right. And again, you know, it's been over 4 years since I talked to my daughter, and I'm just, you know, respecting them boundaries, and that, you know, let the guys know that we got to respect others' boundaries, because we, you know, tore a lot of things up. We did damaged a lot of things for a lot of years.
Mm-hmm. Stephen, in Romans 12:2, it says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will." Talk about how God has transformed your mind, and you're no longer conforming to the pattern of this world, especially the pattern of drug use that you were involved with.
I go back to the December 4th or 5th of 21 when I asked them to just take these addictions away from me, and you know, and take this bondage from me, and being able to get out while I was in prison, right? I truly used that time to read the Bible a couple of times, really get a relationship with Christ, and, and before that too, I was out on the streets doing street ministry, but being able to do that and share my story on the streets too. But then a lot of values have changed. I thought I always wanted the best of the, this. I thought I needed this to have that, and being, not having to be so much part of this world, right? That's what I think that means to me, is what you're asking. That values can change, right? And I think a lot of values have changed to where I don't.
Yeah. Do you remember December 3rd was the day that you cried out to God? Did you say that today is the day that I'm putting my trust and faith in God through His Son Jesus? Do you understand that to be what happened that day?
Yep, Lord. I asked Him, if you're real, prove it. Can you show up in my life? Can you prove it? Prove to me that you're real. Was it a big burning bush? No. Was it, but when I became awoke and became, aware of what God can do in my life.
Aren't you have to be aware, though, of who He is, not for what He can do. So I think what I'm asking is, that pivotal day on the 3rd, did you understand that God, you were going to exchange your life for the life that Jesus lived? That you're going to live your life now through Him? I don't know if that's a tricky question or not, George.
I think, Bill, at that time, having been there myself, you're drowning. You're not doing a lot of thought except help me.
I get it.
And if you're out there, and I think your question, which is such a good one, but the way you keep that is by doing what you say. I'm going to give you my life. I'm going to, walk with you. Willingness to go back to the Salvation Army, live there, and minister to other guys in a really tough job, as you know, because you're down there every week. Mm-hmm. And in the meantime, did you become a soldier yet?
I am a soldier.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't wear the uniform either, so I like the golf shirt. But I think your question's great, and it is a process. But at the beginning, you're just saying, hey, I'm done, help me. And that's what we call surrender. And what surrender is I'm going to let you make my decisions. I'm getting out of the decision-making business, and my way didn't work, and I'm completely yours. And so at that time, though, you're so desperate, you do that. And then that picks up. So it's really a great question. And the way you know that if you're doing what Bill said is you're still doing it.
Right. And I held on to Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 when I first got there too. Just trust Him with all your heart, and you'll acknowledge Him in all your ways, and He will direct your path. Right. And great. Thank you for trying to clarify that. And it was a big mosh pit. I mean, a big, I'm just surrendering, and I just surrendered. And what I think it was kind of a tricky question-ish, I think, but I came in when I surrendered to, it was about having some integrity, salvation. I'm a thief, right? And, there's a lot of things that are trinkets around down there that are, you know what I mean? And I'm just, and it's, for me, it just became trying to do the right thing when nobody's looking, right? To just kind of really have a good attitude about things and not get, and also to remain humble about things, and to, for a while, it was just trying to do the next right thing. Do whatever I'm told. As
our friend Glenn Rank says, we're beaten into a state of reasonableness, and we stop negotiating. Well, okay, I'll do this, but I'm not going to do that. And what you find when you work your program, you have a sponsor, you were willing to go to therapy, everything I was finally willing to do, and nothing works until you let go absolutely. And you do that, but I think, Bill, at the time, at the decision, you're not capable of getting all that. Mm-hmm. The willingness is to live and not die and not be in this pain. And God does show up. And as Steve said earlier, it's sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but things will always materialize if we work for it. And that's what happens. And it's just, never get tired of hearing this. We both have a great love for the Salvation Army and what they do, because people can get sober and not get saved. And that leaves the big great thing on the table.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you got that going for you, right?
Yep, and I even seeked out my therapist who when I got out, the same therapist when I got out. He's just a really wonderful guy. So I get to see him twice a month, who keeps me on track and keeps me focused and keeps me, and along with Jesus too. But I have no reservations. I've always had reservations of whenever I got done with probation, whenever I got done with this guy, whenever I have always held on to him, and I honestly do not have any reservations as of now to want to use or any desire to use or any, which is really great in my life, because I've always had that go-to to help drown out the problems, and I've gone through some tragedies since December 3rd of this year. I mean, last year, coming out of prison, that, not once did I reboot to go back to, I could cover this up with a drink, a joint, a meth, or whatever, anything. And, and I thank God for that I can just actually tell these demons that you're a liar, that you're a cheat, you're a thief, you're not going to destroy me this time. You're really not. And I, thank God that I have a clear enough head to be able to revert to that. I mean, because it's always there, right? It's always there.
Satan roars around like a lion looking for somebody to devour, and usually that's the animal outside the pack, and you've got a good, sober social support system now.
Yeah.
And you're helping other guys. But we always talk about, when guys go back to using, how many guys were you working with? And the answer is usually zero. We're selfish, self-centered, egocentric. Me. And when we start working with other people, that's the greatest joy of our life.
Absolutely.
To see people that are dead. We can't see God, but we can see what he does. And when they have graduation or commencement or whatever they call it now at the Army, and you see guys get back with their families, and you see them when they come in and they take their picture, it's a different man. And if any man be in Christ, he's a new creation. You get to walk with that, see it, and participate in it.
Daily, right?
How great is that?
It's
Nothing better.
It's the best place for me right now. And I think I to remain humble, I think, I do a good job at it. And I think, I touch a lot of guys' hearts, and I think they're really appreciative of, having that ear, having that story to share with them. Because, I mean, we could polish up real nice on the outside. It doesn't look like you'd ever been in prison. You don't look like you've ever had these problems. You look like you have everything together, a guy said, and it's like, we work for it. We continue to have our support group. We continue to seek counsel. We continue to, talk it out.
I think the Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, the big part for me, and lean not on your own understanding. That's a big one.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Stephen, for telling your story. I love what God's done in your life, and I love that you have taken what God has done and his the brokenness that you brought to him, and he's turning around and using you for his kingdom.
Amen.
Yeah, that's great. All right, George, any other further questions?
No, I'm real excited to see, and you talk about the willingness to come do this. And I've always liked you. I've known you 13 years. He always looks to me like he should have his golf glove in his back pocket, and maybe you do.
Yeah, he probably does.
But thank you for sharing your story so honestly, and God has you right where he wants to.
Amen.
And
keep up the good work.
Yeah, this is why you were created, is to help other people. You got a ministry, and the resident manager job is a counseling job.
It is. It's great. It's right where he needs me.
A lot of responsibility on your shoulders in that position.
There is.
You have to be on your A game all day long.
Yeah.
Yeah, but to God be the glory. Thank you, Stephen. Awfully nice to have you here telling your story. That's all the time we have for tonight here on Rural Recovery. Bill and George. If you've missed any of this and you want to go hear it from the beginning, you can go to myfaithradio.com, check out the podcast. And if there's other episodes there you're going to want to check out, they're all there. So have a great, great night and a great week, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening. Programming like this is made available through your support. Information available at myfaithradio.com.